It didn't take long after Damian Lillard was first drafted by the Portland Trail Blazers for the young man to become a legend on the court. With more talent than most and a level of charisma that remains unrivaled in the NBA, he is considered by many to be one of the most popular players in the league, with more fans than the average person can count. But other than his success as a professional basketball player, what do we really know about Damian Lillard? Well, whether you're a fan of the point guard or just want to know more about one of the contenders for the title of GOAT, stay right where you are as we're about to explore some interesting facts that you probably didn't know about Damian Lillard. So strap yourselves in and get ready for a double-double, as things are about to get interesting. But before we get into it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss out on any of the new videos we post. Number 1. He is a man of faith. Although Damian has often been described as moving like a bat out of hell, nothing could be further from the truth, as he considers himself to be a heavy believer in the Christian faith. This belief of his goes far beyond the attendance of church every Sunday and the loving of his neighbors, as can be seen by the state of his body. Although the Bible tells its followers to treat their bodies like a temple, Damian has gone ahead and tattooed himself with a number of religious symbols. One of these symbols can be found on his left arm and stretched from his shoulder to elbow. Look closer and you'll see that it is a word-for-word recreation of a passage known as Psalms 37, which is a verse discussing how good Christians should never ignore the evil in the world, as complacency is just as bad as committing the wrongful act to yourself. He has discussed this tattoo of his and faith in general in many an interview, stating that it was God who gave him the talent to play basketball the way that he does, and it was by getting the permanent tattoo on his arm that he was able to give thanks to the Lord in his very own way. Considering how organized religion such as Christianity has often been used to control and put people down over the last few years, it's good to see someone like Damian preaching the word without any hate in his heart, giving thanks where he believes it to be true. So at least Christian kids growing up have a better role model than the crazy televangelists that can be seen on television nowadays. Number 2. His brand work. In today's world, the work of a professional basketball player is no longer limited to the court, with a number of players making bank by signing massive sponsorship and branding deals to ensure their name gets out there and is associated with products they love. And when it comes to Damian Lillard, things are no different. In fact, as recently as last year, Damian went on to sign with both Powerade and Hulu. Powerade has almost become synonymous with sports due to its place as a replenishing sports drink, but it was his deal with Hulu that really turned heads once he secured it. Using Lillard as their personal spokesperson, the streaming giant made the announcement that the platform would be fighting against cable television by providing its viewers with live sports. Since watching live sports is what saved cable television from being canceled after the onset of the digital era, Hulu is currently the talk of the town, with many getting ready to cancel their cable television packages as soon as live sports streaming hits streaming platforms in the same way that series and movies have. And at the very center of it all is the one and only Damian Lillard, who appears to be the face of the entire shift. In other words, check back in a few years and you'll remember that Lillard was there when the entirety of live sports consumption changed. Now that's pretty cool. Number 3. His involvement in the Respect program. Following the tenets of his faith to a T, Damian has also made a point to use his incredible net worth to change the lives of the community surrounding him. A great example of this can be seen in the Respect program, which was established by him in the Portland area. This program is responsible for motivating kids to not only respect and treat one another with kindness, but to foster a hardworking attitude in children, which is aimed at helping these kids graduate from high school. Since high school can be extremely difficult, especially with the advent of cyberbullying and onset of social media popularity, having someone like Damian Lillard in your corner is a massive advantage. And when a child is supported in a group environment and convinced that graduating from high school is something that can lead to a better world, there is no greater way to help him. Rather than flinging money at people in an attempt to know them out from under the breadline, Damian's support is aimed at convincing these types of at-risk teenagers that they can get out of that hole on their own. The movement has quite a few success stories already, with Damian being the one to thank when it comes to the success of the program. Number 4. He actually graduated from university. As fans of the NBA will tell you, the vast majority of professional basketball players get scouted in high school, after which they are convinced to attend a college to focus on playing college basketball. It is then the scouting of these young adults at a college level which brings them to being drafted at the NBA draft, rather than accepting an offer to play at a successful and well-watched college. Damian Lillard had more than basketball on his mind. He attended Weber State University after graduating from high school, where he played for the school in the Big Sky Conference. Rather than declaring himself for the NBA early on, he went ahead and finished his studies, graduating from Weber State University with a degree in sales. According to Damian, he has always had a plan to get an education before handing himself over to basketball completely. Having an education is important after all, with his degree in sales being quite useful when it comes comes to the financial implications of taking on certain brand deals over and above others. He has also mentioned that he never really thought he was good enough to play in the NBA, which is why he decided to finish his education. At least that way he would have something to fall back on if his sporting career went on to fall flat. Luckily for Lillard, he has to never rely on this education of his, since his basketball skills are so ridiculously good. He is a better person after having received a proper education. He might actually be one of the smartest and most qualified members of the NBA when education levels are taken into account, making him 1 in a million. Number 5. His college years were injury-prone. Something else that fans might not realize about Damian's journey is that when it came to him playing college basketball, not much of his time was actually spent on the court. In fact, the young star managed to injure his foot pretty badly, allowing him to only play a grand total of 10 games for Weber State University. Luckily for him, the talent that Damian has is pretty much unparalleled in the league, which resulted in him being noticed by scouts in the crowd. Knowing that he was drafted 6th overall even after only playing 10 games at a college level speaks to what scouts saw in him when he was dominating the court. And if he hadn't performed at his best before this injury of his, we would have probably had no idea who he is right about now. So it's no wonder that many have called him one of the luckiest players in the NBA. In our opinion though, you make your own luck, and it's clear that Damian deserves to be precisely where he is right now. Number 6. He has one of the strangest fears around. All of us have fears, from flying cockroaches to walking around in the dark, but there are also some fears out there which are straight up ridiculous, and Damian Lillard definitely has one of them. As it turns out, Damian actually has a crippling fear of historic statues, which has kept him out of museums and historical sites for the majority of his life. As crazy as this might sound, it actually makes complete sense if you think about it. What are historical statues if not reminders of people who have already passed on? So, since they can be compared to zombies when standing still, we'll give Damian a pass and say it isn't completely ridiculous to be scared of historical statues, but it is definitely not common. Number 7. He is a master when it comes to social media. Over the past couple of years, there have been a few campaigns launched to stop people from being addicted to their smartphones, and while we completely agree with the message, it must be kept in mind that social media is an incredible tool that can be used to make a name for yourself in the world. And in the case of Damian Lillard, it can also be used to develop everlasting friendships that have continued to this very day. In fact, if it wasn't for Twitter, Damian and teammate CJ McCollum would most definitely not be as close as they currently are. You see, a year after the Trailblazers signed Damian in the first round of the draft, CJ McCollum was brought onto the team, but before this draft even took place, the two met online through Twitter and started a friendship that was entirely set in the cyber world. So when they finally met up for the first time as teammates, this chemistry of theirs was undeniable and clearly helped the team succeed as far as synergy was concerned. So as harmful as social media can be, it all depends on how you use it, and there's no doubt that Damian Lillard is a master of the socials. Number 8. He is the highest paid player in Blazers history. And last but not least, we had to end off this list by informing you just how all of the above has resulted in Damian Lillard becoming the highest paid basketball player in the history of the Trailblazers. With hard work and determination, he has made a name for himself in the sporting world and is still considered by many to be one of the greatest players in the league. What do you think of Lillard? Let us know in the comments section down below.